Video number 11, chapter 17, about amplifying harmonica sound. So this chapter just tells about the different ways that you can amplify your sound when you're playing, maybe for a live audience. So basics of amplification are that you play into a mic, which converts the sound into an electrical signal, and then you have an amp, which makes that signal stronger, and then the amp will lead to a speaker, which then will convert it back into physical sound, whatever. So generally, what kind of you're going to be playing through a microphone designed for vocal mic, which works pretty well for harmonicas. You just basically adjust the mic to, if there's a mic stand, to the height of the harmonica. So right here, and position the mic towards the back of your hands, the source of the sound, and just stand in front of the mic. Basically, closer you stand, the louder it's going to be. You can run into issues with feedback if you stand too close to the mic. So that's something just to keep in mind or to avoid. But otherwise, you want to go as close as you want, as long as you can have room for your hands, because you're going to want to be, doing that kind of thing. But not all stages will have stands. So sometimes you're going to need to cup the mic in your hand along with the harmonica. So if this stick of Old Spice deodorant is the mic, you'd be holding it a finger length away, kind of like this, and then cupping it in your hands and playing into the microphone with the harmonica and mic in your hands. So this can lead to some positive effects. It can be louder. It can block out other noises of other instruments on the stage. And you can also move around the stage a bunch. But it's harder to control the sound of the harmonica with your hands because it's so close to the mic. It's harder to play really loudly or really soft. There's a smaller range because you can't go farther and closer. And it's a little bit different tonally than if you play. It's like a darker tone. So then talks about how it can sometimes be difficult to hear yourself playing when you're amplifying your sound, and there's a lot of other stuff going on, but most good stages will have monitors, which are speakers that are directed towards the player, so you can hear what you're playing. And there's generally would be like a sound technician at most venues who you could, if you couldn't hear it, you could request more sound to be, or the monitors to be louder. But also you can, it's the first time it dropped, that was better than usual. You can also put a finger in one of your ears, which helps. So you hold the harmonica in one hand, like so, and then do that, and supposedly that helps. This chapter is kind of hard to demonstrate because I don't have microphone technology or a music venue. So next little subsection is about avoiding, and feedback occurs when the microphone picks up the sound of that is being played or that is being produced from the microphone and then starts looping. So this can occur when the speakers are pointed. Now it's dropping all the time. Or it's too loud, or if some frequencies if there's a hollow space, some frequencies will ring out and then begin to cause feedback. So you can also use amplification to create distorted sounds with the microphone. This can be done to enrich the sound or to create kind of effects in the sound. So there's the two kinds of mics that are generally used for harmonicas are vocal mics, which some things to consider when you're looking at vocal mics are you want to pick up uh, noise from the direction the mic is pointed to avoid feedback. And also you want to make sure that it's easy to cup in your hands if you're not playing with a stand. Also, something to consider is some mics respond more to certain frequencies, which will be, when you're purchasing a mic or looking at a mic, will be information that's available. And you generally want mics for harmonica playing that don't emphasize high frequencies as much, because harmonicas are already produce a lot of high frequencies, and if those are embellished, increased, they can lead to like a shrill kind of sound. And also there's different proximities. I should probably go faster. This is taking forever. There's also bullet mics, which are kind of these old-fashioned mics that were used generally just for like talking, like in subway stations, like just to get loud noises in like efficiently for spoken stuff. But like blues harmonica players like the sound of these when combined with the harmonica, so they're sometimes used. But generally, unless like you can get new ones that kind of are imitation but aren't very good, and so the older kind of classic ones are pretty expensive, like antique models. So unless you have the money to do that, he generally recommends using a vocal mic and then distorting the sound with other ways. And some of the ways to distort harmonicas is with equalization, so you can boost some parts of the spectrum to make highlight bass or treble or whatnot. You can also use compression, which will reduce the extremes of loud and soft. You can have delay, which will delay part of the note and play it back and give it like a richer sound. There's reverb, which will kind of be like an echoing sound. Then there's distortion. There's like distortion units, which will use preamps, which will boost the mic in the early stage. And if there's two of them, you can kind of overdrive one of them and create distortion, which is kind of like when you're just like blowing out, like doing like playing something too loudly for the amplifier that it can't really handle. So by using two of them, you can like simulate that sound. And then there's also things called feedback suppressors, which just help prevent feedback. And then there's also stomp boxes, which will have like a certain effect that you can hook up. So generally, you're gonna want to use amplifiers that are designed for keyboards or for vocals, keyboards or acoustic guitars, because that most closely resembles the sound of a harmonica. But people also use electric guitar amplifiers, which have higher output and can create some kind of distortions, but you need to adjust them in various ways, which I won't go into because it's taking forever. And you can also, without playing really loudly to create distortion effects, you can get smaller amps or use like a preamp or distortion effect. Or there's also just like amp modular, which kind of just simulates sounds basically. And then another thing is because generally with harmonicas, you're going to be potentially like mixing and matching the technology units, electricity from different, that are designed for different uses that generally, or may or may not be designed to fit together. Like you could be using a vocal mic, and then a preamp that's generally used with electric guitars, and then an amp that's used for vibraphones or something. And then you have to kind of be aware of um, matching up the different connectors that have the same impedance, because otherwise, if they're on the same impedance, the sound can be weaker, muffled. So you guys do the different like vocal mics, and then guitar and bullet mics will generally have different impedance levels. So he gives some different ways you can translate between those different things. And then he talks finally about how to, say you don't have access to all this equipment, how to find, preferably the sound that you want to create is just the sound that you like the best. There's no one way to mix and match all these things. And some ways to find what stuff you like is, a lot of times if you go to a music store, you can just try out a lot of this material or this equipment, and then talk to other harmonica players, figure out what they like, hear how they play, and see what they do. Or also, you can check out like online forums, which a lot of these stuff I mentioned in a previous video about how to stay in contact with the harmonica community. So feel free to check out that video if you want more information on how to get in contact with other harmonica players. But yeah, until next time, hope you learned something today.